Kia ora, my name's Jon Hartley and I have been asked by Bishop Justin and John Whitehead, the Chairman of the Board of Trustees, to give a briefing about what has been happening in the Board of Trustees this year. I'm unable to join you as I'm doing some voluntary work in South America at this time. The Diocesan Council appoints the Board of Trustees, and the Diocesan Council, amongst its many things, is responsible for mission alignment. The Board of Trustees had a very narrow role, and that is as trustee of assets to both manage liquid funds, i.e. the money that is invested outside of the diocese, and to look after and be trustee of properties. The trustees are responsible for managing approximately $39 million of invested funds. There are, however, another $20 million of funds around the diocese which are invested in a variety of places of which we have no sight of. In addition to that, the Board of Trustees is responsible for about 85% of the diocesan property portfolio, which has a value of about $250 million. For those that are mathematical, that means there's another $50 million of property outside of the Board of Trustees' purvey. This year we switched the management of our funds from being managed internally to externally, and we selected a fund manager, JB Weir, to manage those funds. We saw this as being a natural evolution in light of the way that funds management is occurring inside this country. As a consequence, we have been able to reduce our compliance and governance risk. We've externalized and simplified a lot of the processes, and there is increased transparency and accountability of the funds under management. To date, we are very happy and satisfied with the process of transfer to JB Weir and their performance. This is a sleep at night strategy from the Board of Trustees' point of view. We're happy for fairly priced expertise to generate acceptable risk-adjusted returns on your behalf, and it passes the test of good practice. The reality is, though, of the $39 million that we manage, $32 million is in fact held for other parties who have precise needs of that, be they trustees or be they other parties. The consequence is that we hold approximately $7 million of discretionary funds on behalf of the diocese. The Diocesan Council has asked that we retain a minimum balance of $8 million. So at this moment we're $1 million short in terms of the minimum cash balances that we should be carrying. This is part of the challenge that the Board of Trustees faces. The second component that we manage and we are trustees of is $250 million worth of property portfolio, of which about $55 million is the value of the land and buildings of the Wellington Cathedral. The Board of Trustees has 180 plus properties under its trust. These are pieces of land, churches, halls and vicarages. It's estimated that there's another $50 million worth of property that sits outside the purvey of the Board of Trustees. As we look at this portfolio, it is reasonable to say that there is little or no economic return from the portfolio. And while some of you may think that's satisfactory, in a time of limited resources, we'd like to explore what economic return could be available from that portfolio and just how would we go about doing that. The second aspect of the property, however, is the poor state of the property. In general, we are good at deferring maintenance and we find ourselves with seismic challenge buildings. So the quality of the portfolio is of concern to all of us. So the property portfolio raises some questions. Let me put them to you. If you own these properties, would you look after them like this? If you own your own house, think about how you personally look after that house. Similarly, these properties, how do they fit into our vision of being a transformative movement of joyful and loving local faith communities bringing the good news to all? Do they fit into that? If they do, that's excellent. If they don't, how could we use and develop them so that they start to realise the vision of the diocese. Property always brings challenges. The challenges of local politics, local opinion, throwing good money after bad. These are all the things that we will have to grapple with as we look forward into the possibilities and potential of the property portfolio of the diocese. The questions that we grapple with are we willing to take risks? Are we willing to let a few try something and then learn from their examples, learn from what has been effectively a relatively inactive asset base, turning into something that is far more dynamic, that is both generating a return for the diocese and ideally pursuing and advancing the mission of the church? Or alternatively, do we leave this to the next generation? I suggest that that is not what we should be doing. As we look at the Board of Trustees, on the positive side, we can say that we've done a lot to streamline, improve the administration, the finance, the accounting, the health and safety, the mission alignment, and early stages of property management. These may seem like housekeeping things to you, but if you don't keep the house clean, it's really hard to show it off as to how you want others to behave. But we do face some challenges as a diocese, and the Board of Trustees is part of that. The first challenge we face is the funding of the diocesan budget. It's relatively clear that parish contributions are declining, St. John's distributions are flat, and investment returns are at a historic low level. So therefore we are challenged as to how we will fund the aspirations of the diocese looking into the next 3 to 5 years. The second is, as good stewards, what are we prepared to do? What are we prepared to think about in relationship to the property that we own? Are we prepared to think about partnering with others on some of it, to do something dramatic around housing, to do something dramatic around community facilities, to do something dramatic around advancing the mission of the church? This will bring challenges around resourcing, creativity, risk-taking, but that is what we're called to do. We're called to take some risks. I'd like to leave you with the thought that we have approximately $300 million of property and we are generating no economic return from it, and we believe there is a lot more that can be done. Yes, we will challenge the sacred cows. Yes, we will challenge local politics. Yes, we will challenge tradition. But I invite you to think about the bigger picture, and I invite you to think about the legacy that we're leaving for the next generation. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen today, and I wish you all the very best for the rest of Synod.